welcome to another episode of the Chaos Chronicles.
Navigating the randomness.
I'm Jess.
I'm Connie.
And today we're diving back in on Twilight.
Yes. So before we get too deep into anything, just a reminder, you can find us at all of our social medias, which are YouTube, TikTok, Spotify, and Instagram. The handle for all four is at Chaos Chronicles Podcast, and that's Chronicles with an S. We would very much appreciate a like, subscribe, and follow.
Yes. All right. So we are on chapter 11. So now's your chance if you want to pause us here, go read it, and come back.
Yes. So real quick summary up to this point. In the last couple of chapters, it was, now I've forgotten. Oh no.
I was like, this is on you.
I believe it was. So the whole incident going to Port Angeles had happened where Edward saves Bella from a potential assault. And they have dinner. Edward confesses that he can read minds and he can't read Bella's. So they have a pleasant conversation. Bella gives him a couple of guesses for what she thinks he could be. And Edward doesn't confirm, but he's like, you're kind of on the right track. He drops her off at home. I remember this part. He leans in and breathes stunningly on her, and she is stunned. And she's like, okay, I'll see you tomorrow. Goes inside. He sees her tomorrow. And he basically just like hangs on her like a boyfriend, to where Jessica bounds up and is like, haha, what's going on? Tell me everything. And Bella's like, I'll tell you later in Trig.
That was the first day that Edward picks her up too.
Picks her up to school. That's right. Forgot about that.
Yeah.
And so Edward tells Bella, well, I'll be listening to your conversation with Jessica. And so Bella gets the class, and Jessica's asking all the questions of like, are you dating? Does he like you? Do you like him? Bella's like, well, kind of we are. But I like him way more than he likes me.
Which upsets him.
Which upsets Edward, because they meet together at the cafeteria and they start having this conversation, which I believe is where we left off.
Let's see. Well, they ended talking about like Emmett's favorite is the spring grizzlies because they're aggressive.
That's right. They talk about how Edward had gone to Rote Rocks?
Goat Rocks. I said Rote Rocks in that first one, and it's just messed us up since.
Goat Rocks. They've gone there, and they were hunting, not camping like he originally told Bella. Yep. He starts sharing that Edward prefers mountain lion, Emmett prefers grizzlies, and I think that's kind of where we left off.
Yeah, other than just Edward's like, you cannot see me feed.
Oh, that's right. Bella's like, is that something I can ever see?
And he says if it was just being scared, it would be good for you because you need a healthy dose of fear in your life. Then they end up leaving. Let's see if there's anything else. Oh, yeah. So the cafeteria, they're talking in the cafeteria at that point about all that. And they're talking to the point where everyone had left. And that's where we're leaving off.
So they go to class. Okay.
Yep. That was a long-ish winded recap. Sorry.
Yeah. Maybe we'll start writing like a quick summary before the episode, because we're only
Do you want to do a little blurb on that?
I think I'll have to do a little blurb because we're over halfway through the book, or this is halfway.
I think after this chapter we are halfway.
Okay, if I'm struggling to remember half, we'll start blurbing it. It'll get quicker.
Yes. So chapter 11, complications. The chapter starts with Edward and Bella entering biology together. Everyone is watching them walk to their table. Bella notices that Edward doesn't angle his chair away from her anymore, but instead sits closely beside her with their arms almost touching. Their biology teacher enters and is pulling the old school TV and VCR into the room. And
best days.
Yeah, those were the best days. And I remember those. Like, I just saw it in my head.
So
they're on the big, like,
I heard
hall.
it. The wheels.
Yes. And if you don't know what that is, I am so sorry. But this meant that they were having a movie day. The lights went out, and Bella became hyper aware of Edward sitting so close to her. Quote, I was stunned by the unexpected electricity that flowed through me, amazed me that it was possible to be more aware of him than I already was. A crazy impulse to reach over and touch him, to stroke his perfect face just once in the darkness, nearly overwhelmed me. I crossed my arms tightly across my chest and my hands balling into fists. I was losing my mind. End quote.
I agree with the last part.
I do too. Yes, you are losing your mind. Girl, what are you doing?
Like, I get it. You see someone really handsome and pretty, but not once have I ever been like, I want to stroke their face. Never happened. Besides a dog. I'm like, oh, let me pet the baby. But, like,
But it's a dog.
it's a dog.
Edward is not, well,
Yeah.
he's something.
He's something.
So the movie begins, and Bella glanced over to Edward. She smiled when she realized that his posture was the exact same as hers. Fists were clenched under his arms, and eyes were peering sideways at her. He gave a grin back. Quote, I looked away before I started hyperventilating. It was absolutely ridiculous that I should feel dizzy. End quote. Bella tried to concentrate on the movie, but was not successful. Throughout the movie, Bella continued to glance at Edward, and his posture never changed. Bella continued to crave his touch, but she continued to crush her fists into her ribs until her fingers ached. So the lights turned back on, and Bella sighed in relief. She stretches out her arms, and Edward chuckled and said, Well, that was interesting. Edward walks Bella to her next class in silence. When they arrived, Bella turned to say goodbye, but she was startled to see the expression on his face. He looked almost pained and also fiercely beautiful, so much so that the ache to touch him was just as strong as before. This is just... The look on your face is the exact look on my face that I had reading this.
I'm judging.
Mm-mm.
Why was he pained? Did he have gas?
It's Edward. He's always pained about something. Bella wanted to say goodbye, but was unable to get the words out. Edward raised his hand hesitantly, and Bella can see the conflict in his eyes. He brushes her cheekbone with his fingertips, which is kind of, isn't that awkward?
Wait. Okay. There we go. I had to like really think it through. I'm like, he be coming from this.
It's just...
Ew. That's how you get acne. Don't touch other people's faces.
You're not wrong. But that just... I'm sorry, your fingertips, that's not... I don't think anybody does it. If anything, it's like the side of your finger.
Which even when I see that, I've only seen that by creepy dudes. But that came with the let me just tuck your hair behind your ear. And I'm like, let me just tuck your face into your dick if you do that again.
Yeah. Very awkward, very weird. So his skin was icy cold, but left a very warm trail as if she was burned by him. He turned without a word and walked away.
If a guy leaves you burning, it's chlamydia. On your face, I guess.
We're going to continue with a quote from the book. I walked into the gym, lightheaded and wobbly. I drifted to the locker room, changing in a trance-like state, only vaguely aware that there were other people surrounding me. Reality didn't fully set in until I was handed a racket. End quote. They're at gym class, like a
I know they
bracket
are,
for
but I think I'm remembering the
badminton.
sex part. Also, I am remembering from Midnight Sun.
Hmm.
Edward watches Bella through the eyes of others.
Yeah, he does.
I don't like if he was watching her as she's getting changed in the locker room, which in theory, everyone's eyes should be down. You do not look at other people when
In
they are
theory.
changing. You do not take your phones out in the locker room. You do not take a picture in the locker room. Things I shouldn't have to say, but people can forget and they do it.
Yeah. It's always creepy when people look at you and you're in the.
I got real good at fast changing, let me tell you.
I did too. Especially, I was a swimmer in high school.
Yep.
You got really good at fast changes under a towel not greatly placed, but you did what you got to do. So class began, and Mike came to stand next to Bella. Mike asked if Bella wants to be a team, and Bella says thanks, but he doesn't have to do that. Mike responds, "Don't worry, I'll keep out of the way." Class didn't go well for Bella, though. She managed to hit herself in the head with a racket and also clip Mike's shoulder all in the same swing, which is pretty impressive. Nice job.
It is. I do remember this section of the book. And honestly, I feel bad for her in that one because the only thing worse than having to be in a gym class with everybody is if you are clumsy and God forbid if you already have attention on you because of something like this or being the
Yeah,
new girl. Oh, if I was in her position, I'd be like, I don't know if I want to knock myself out or if it's going to be worse if I knock myself out.
right.
It's like, can I nope out of this? Is that an option?
Yeah. But despite having Bella on the team, Mike ended up winning 3 of the 4 games. So he's just a beast, I guess. When the class ended, Mike says, quote, "So you and Cullen, huh?" End quote.
Yeah, that sounds like a teenage boy.
That as I read that, I was like,
You know who I'm picturing as Mike?
who?
Our shared ex.
No.
But
I can't unsee this.
But doesn't it fit?
It does, but I can't unsee it, Connie. And again, I know I've said this before. I do not count him as an ex. It was like a 1 week long fling, and I got grossed out and said bye.
Same. Again, better as a friend, but like, he's got that vibes. I could see
He
him.
also has like the same description.
The same description. And also, I'm pretty sure that's exactly how he walked up to me when I started dating my high school boyfriend. Literally just like, so you and blank. I'm like pretty sure that was exactly how that went.
I feel like that was every teenage boy though, because that happened when I started dating someone, I don't know, or started having a fling with. I don't think we ever technically dated, but one of my guy friends came up to me. "So you and so and so, huh?" And they always have like the head nod in there too. Yeah.
Oh my god. Well, that's all right. That's pre-populated in my head for the rest of this series.
I'm gonna try to forget what you said.
Good
I don't
luck.
think I can. But also, Mike is not coming off as the, like I'm smiling and like, "Hey, so you and blah blah blah." He's not happy.
Oh, I remembered him being a little bit more like joking jovial at that point because he and Jessica were together. I misremembered.
No,
Okay, then not like our shared ex.
Yeah, no, yeah, there's no way.
No, I take it back. Rescind.
Yeah, so Bella tells Mike that it's none of his business, which it's really not. But Mike says, quote, "I don't like it." Me either, Mike. But also, it's not your life. But glad that you're vocalizing that you don't like it. But also, I know that it's coming from jealousy, so yeah. Yeah, we know it's coming from jealousy, so it's kind of mind your business, I guess. Bella snapped at him, saying that he doesn't have to like it. Mike continues, saying he looks at her like she's something to eat. Bella had to stifle down a laugh, but a giggle still came through.
Which
Because he's not wrong.
He's not wrong, but it's also like, pot kettle, dude. You were thinking of eating her in a different way, okay? Tell me I'm wrong.
I can't.
Exactly.
Oh. So Mike glowered at her and she ran into the locker room. As Bella changes, she is wondering if Edward will be waiting for her or if she will have to go to his car. Her mind wanders, and then she starts wondering if his family would be there. She was filled with terror. Do they know she knows?
They know.
I'm sure they know.
Yeah. To her credit, if I was in her position, I'd be like, oh, okay. Oh my God, now it's his family. Like, I would also be like, oh, shit.
Yeah, no, not great. Not great.
No.
So Bella was leaving the locker room. As Bella was leaving the locker room, she decided she was going to walk straight home and not even look at the parking lot. But Edward was there waiting for her. Quote, leaning casually against the side of the gym, his breathtaking face untroubled now. End quote.
Okay.
Edward asked how Jim was. Bella says fine, but Edward was unconvinced and says that Newton is getting on his nerves.
Mike. I mean, I'm gonna agree with Edward on this one, okay?
Bella was horror struck. He wasn't listening in again, was he? Innocently, Edward asks how her head was.
Worse, sweetie, he was watching.
Bella stomps away, saying he is unbelievable, and even though she is heading to the parking lot, she hadn't ruled out walking home yet. I have been that mad many times, but like also, Edward, invasion of privacy. She's told you to not listen in on conversations or watch conversations. This is stalkerish. This is more than stalkerish.
Oh, yeah, next level.
Yeah. Stop being creepy. But it was pretty funny. So
It is funny. We'll take it as the funny as it is.
just know, even though I'm laughing and seemingly maybe seem to like Edward, I don't like Edward.
No.
We're just making the best of this. So Edward easily kept her pace and said, quote, you were the one who mentioned how I've never seen you in gym. It made me curious, end quote. Bella chose to ignore him, and they walked in silence to his car. She was pretty furious and partly embarrassed. Bella stopped and saw a crowd of all boys surrounding what Bella believed to be Edward's car, but then realized they're actually all standing around Rosalie's red convertible.
It is a pretty cool convertible, if I remember correctly.
Oh, I'm sure. I mean, yeah, I am sure.
She is the it girl. Like, it's a good car. She's styling.
Oh, absolutely. The boys were filled with lust, and no one even looked at Bella or Edward as they climbed in the Volvo. Bella asks, what car is it anyways? And Edward gives a very too specific answer and then eventually says it's a BMW. Same. If you gave me the exact make and mod, I don't know. Give me the... Is it a Chevy? Is it a Ford? I don't know.
I get a little bit better just because of my job, but
yeah, still way over my head.
Same. I had that moment yesterday. Dude called in. He's like, yeah, I just bought a 1972 Monte Carlo. And I'm like, crap, who does Monte Carlo? He goes, yeah, Chevy. I'm like, oh, should know that. Sorry.
Yeah. Nope, I wouldn't be able to ever tell you.
Neither.
Yeah, so Edward asks if she is still angry. Bella responds definitively. Edward asks if she'll forgive him if he apologizes. Bella says maybe if he means it and promises to not do it again. Edward rebuttals with, "What if I mean it?" and agree to let her drive on Saturday. Bella agrees.
Yeah, I can see her taking that.
Yeah. Edward says that he's really sorry he upset her. Quote, "His eyes burned with sincerity for a protracted moment, playing havoc with the rhythm of my heart." End quote. He then tells Bella he'll be at Bella's bright and early on Saturday. I know I'm using a lot of quotes, but like,
You gotta.
I have to. You guys would be missing out if I didn't.
Yeah, we gotta. Woo, some young adult book right here. Some tropes.
If I have to, go through this, you guys have to go through it with me.
Suffering together.
It's great.
Yay.
Bella reminds Edward that it doesn't help with the, quote, Charlie situation, unquote, if a random Volvo is in his driveway. Edward assures her that he wasn't intending on bringing his car. When Bella starts to ask how, he cuts her off and says, "Don't worry about it. He will be here and there will not be a car." Why can't you just, she knows you're a vampire. Why can't you just tell her?
Who knows?
Boys. Actually, not just boy. Edward.
Eddie boy.
Bella has a more pressing question to ask Edward, though. He assumed that it had to do with why she can't watch him hunt, but Bella clarifies, saying that she's mostly wondering about his reaction, and then lies, saying that he didn't scare her with the reaction.
Oh, so she says, like, no, I'm more concerned with, the scale of the reaction when I asked that. And Edward's like, oh, did I scare you? And Bella's like, no, you didn't. Yes, he did.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yep. Edward didn't buy the lie, though, and apologizes for scaring her. It was just the thought of her being there that would be extremely bad, because they give themselves to their senses and govern less with their minds. If she was anywhere near him when he lost control in that way, he trails off and shakes his head. They look into each other's eyes for a while in silence. Edward closes his eyes and says that he thinks she should go inside now.
Okay, they were parked. I was about to say, were they
They were
driving?
parked, sorry.
Okay,
Yeah.
I was like,
they were sitting outside of Charlie's house.
The parked car conversations. Those are always the best or the worst.
Yeah. Me and you have them anytime we drive each other. It's
a default.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's like an hour sitting in the car.
At least.
Hour plus. Bella gets out and shuts the door, only for Edward to roll down the window and, smiling, says, "Tomorrow it's his turn to ask questions." Edward leaves, and Bella smiles when she realizes that he was planning on seeing her tomorrow. That night, Bella dreamt of Edward per usual and was filled with the same electricity that was between them earlier that day. Bella was tossing and turning and waking frequently. When Bella woke, she was still tired and dressed in a turtleneck and jeans, while daydreaming of...
Wait, she slept in a turtleneck and jeans?
Nope,
Psychopath.
I did not write that correctly. When Bella woke, she was still tired. She got up and dressed in a turtleneck and jeans while daydreaming of spaghetti straps and shorts, because she wants warmer weather.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Bella went down for breakfast, and the same quiet was in the morning. When Charlie stood up, he asked Bella if Bella still planned to go to Seattle on Saturday, and is she sure that she can't make it back for the dance? Bella glares at Charlie, saying she's not going to the dance. Be nice. I understand, but it's Charlie. Be nice. Charlie asks if anyone asked her, and tries to hide his concern by looking at the plate that he is rinsing. Bella tells him that it's a girl's choice dance. Charlie says, "Oh," and frowns as he dries his plate. Okay, why wouldn't you? Yeah, it's a girl's choice dance, but you had 3 guys ask you. Why couldn't you just say, yeah, I got asked a few times and said no because I really don't want to go?
Eric, Tyler, Mike, right?
Yeah.
I was like 3, 4, 3.
3. Yeah. Why wouldn't, what's the harm in saying, yeah, I got asked, so he at least knows like you're liked? And be like, but this is more of, I don't want to go to a dance.
I think she just feels like she can't have that kind of a conversation with Charlie. Like she could have it with her mom, but not with him.
But he's so sad for her.
This is from 27-year-old perspective.
I know.
17.
So going into a quote here from Bella, I sympathized with him. It must be a hard thing to be a father, living in fear that your daughter would meet a boy she liked, but also having to worry if she didn't. How ghastly it would be, I thought, shuddering, if Charlie had even the slightest inkling of exactly what I did like. End quote.
Yeah. Yeah. Charlie, Mr. Kachuk, I am the sheriff here. No.
Charlie would not be a fan.
Charlie shouldn't be a fan.
No one should be a fan.
No.
Sorry for all of you diehard Edward lovers. I don't understand. So Charlie said goodbye and left for the day. Bella finished getting ready, and then Edward pulled up in the driveway. Bella left and shut the door but didn't deadbolt it. I'm assuming that has to come up later because that's not the first time that she's mentioned it. And she continues to mention it. Like, she doesn't deadbolt the front door.
Why?
Exactly. I don't know why.
Like, she wasn't raised in the small town. Like,
No.
I get it when you're like a couple of my college roommates who grew up in the small town. I had to remind them repeatedly, as I've said in other episodes, that for the love of God, we're in the cities, lock the door.
Mm-hmm.
She didn't have that.
No. So I'm assuming that's like foreshadowing to something. So I wanted to mention it because it's something that's coming up periodically. So I'm just gonna put it in here, and I guess we'll see if anything happens or if it's just a weird quirk of hers.
I'm gonna spoil just a little. Edward doesn't use a door.
I've been wondering. Okay, I had an inkling of something like that. Obviously, I didn't know for sure if
He's not a doorman.
yeah. Anywho, so going back, I guess we will be getting to that. I'm assuming in a couple of chapters because I know it's not in the next 2. It's not in 12 or 13. So, but I'm assuming it's shortly after 13.
I believe so.
Yeah. So Bella opens the door and in a silky voice, Edward says, "Good morning. How are you today?" Bella says good. She was always good and much more than good when she was around him. Edward looks at her eyes and says that she looks tired.
Bitch!
I knew that was coming.
No! You do not say that.
Be like me. Hey, Connie, you look tired today.
like the only in a conversation,
No.
in a context, maybe, but you don't be like, "Hi, how you doing today? You look tired." You know who did that? Our old boss at the water park when I didn't wear makeup. He's
He
like,
did.
"Are you okay? You look tired. You look sick." I'm not wearing makeup. Oh, yep. Sit in that one, buddy.
Don't be that person. That is so rude.
Mm-hmm.
You do not look tired today, Connie.
Thank you. It's because I'm wearing my highlighter top, so it makes me not look tired.
Makes you look really tan.
It's a lie. I'm not. Not at all.
So Bella admits to Edward that she couldn't sleep, and Edward teasingly says, "Neither could I." Okay, Mr. Vampire. Bella laughs and says she supposes that she. Bella laughs and says she supposes she slept more than him. She then asks what he did last night, but today is Edward's day for questioning, and he's not about to give that up. And also, I don't know if I want to know what he does at night.
You'll know.
That face says that I don't want to know. So.
You're not going to like it, but you'll know.
Yay. Okay. So Edward starts in on the questions. The first was, what is her favorite color? She responds, brown because it's warm. She misses brown because of everything that's supposed to be brown, like tree trunks and rocks and dirt, is all covered up with squashy green stuff.
I cannot agree with her on that one.
I cannot either. Also, my favorite color is like dark green, so but can't relate. Really can't. Edward seems amused and then asked what is in her CD player right now. Bella hadn't removed the CD that Phil gave her, so when she said the name of the band, he smiled, pulled out a CD he had in his car, and it was the same CD. So I guess Edward likes the whiny music.
Whiny. Was it Nickelback?
It doesn't say.
Dang it.
But that's what you said in that whatever episode she was listening to the CD player, and you're like, it's.
I feel like it's Nickelback.
Yeah, you're like, I think it's Nickelback. Because all I'm hearing in my head right now is Photograph.
Yep, same.
So through the rest of the day, Edward continued to question her about every, quote, insignificant detail of her existence, end quote. Most of the questions were easy, and only a few caused her to blush, but that always prompted more questions. One of the questions, and I'm including it because it could be significant later, he asked what her favorite gemstone is. No significance later.
I'm not remembering currently.
She blurted out topaz.
I remember why that's her favorite.
So Bella ended up blushing, and Edward questioned her about this. She said her face got red because until recently, her favorite gemstone was garnet. Quote, it was impossible while staring back into his topaz eyes not to remember the reason for the switch, end quote.
There it is.
Edward continued to question her until she revealed this as well. Bella was nervous that she revealed too much about how obsessed she is with him, and Edward would become strangely angry again like he did last time. Because whenever Bella says that she really, really likes him, he becomes very, very angry. Edward only paused and asked what flower she preferred. They got to biology, and Edward continued to question her until the teacher came in the room again with the TV and DVD player. They continued to watch the movie. When the teacher headed to turn the lights off, Edward slid slightly farther away from Bella, but it didn't help. As soon as the room was dark, the same spark and craving came back.
That's why I don't leave teenagers alone in the dark. Alone with someone else in the dark.
Sorry, can't relate. Bella leaned on the table and rested her head on her arms, and her fingers gripping the table. Bella didn't look at Bella didn't look at him for the worry that he was looking at her. If he was, it would make this self-control even harder. You guys were fine, and then they magically turn off the lights, and all of a sudden you just... What?
Isn't there a Fallout Boy song where it's like, I know what you did in the dark?
Yeah.
That's, I just got that playing in my head.
Oh, that's a good song.
Oh, emo days. I
S-
love it.
I still listen to all those songs. Let's be
Same.
honest here. That was the best kind of music.
I enjoyed it. I
That was
enjoy it
fun.
more now as an adult.
I do too. That's what I work out to.
That's very good for working out.
Some really good songs. Anywho, Bella, again, Bella tried to watch the movie, but still had no idea what was really going on. The lights came on, and when Bella looked at Edward, he was already looking at her, and his eyes were ambivalent.
You
Ed-
only think they were, sweetie.
well, Edward stood up, and they walked to Jim again in silence, just like the day prior. Also, just like yesterday, he touched her face, but this time with the back of his hand and moved from her temple to her jaw. He then turned and walked away.
Don't like.
I'm not getting any romantic anything. I'm just kidding. Ugh.
Ooh.
Exactly.
I mean, less acne prone than fingertips because of oil, but don't do that. Don't do that.
Is this what teenagers want?
I don't know. I don't know. They
Connie, do
want.
you remember reading this as a seventh grader, being like, "Ooh,
No, those parts felt pretty foreign because at that age I was like, boys suck. Girls suck. Everybody sucks. We're all psychopaths.
that's fair."
I actually did say that a lot, which looking back, that is pretty weird. I'm surprised the teachers didn't say anything because my friends would all be like, "Oh, do you love him?" And I'm like, none of us can love. We're all inherently selfish at this age. And I would say that all the time.
I don't know how I would with I don't know how I would respond to that at that age.
I did. They always pushed on it, and that was my response all the time. And they're like, "That's so mean." I'm like, "It's honest. You don't love them." That's probably some stuff to unpack, but I was right.
Yeah, you weren't wrong. You were not wrong. So in gym, they were playing badminton again, and Bella watched Mike's one-man show as they were partners again. Mike didn't speak to her today, though, and assumed it was probably from her vacant expression of he was still angry about their fight yesterday.
Sweetie McGee, that wasn't a fight.
No.
That's not. Maybe my standards for fight are lower, but that's an exchange. That's a conversation.
Yeah, I mean, if if we weren't married and you were dating some weirdo, I'd be like, "Hey, Connie, I don't like so and so." That's not a fight.
No, it's an exchange. It's
Mm-hmm.
maybe a disagreement. I wouldn't consider it a fight.
I would not consider it a fight either.
Exactly.
No. It's but at that age, any disagreement was a big deal. It was a big fight. It was
Yeah, heaven forbid you're not agreeable, amenable, and everyone is not the same, but uniquely different because we're all special. I judged harshly that time.
so Bella quickly got dressed because the faster she moved, the sooner she would see Edward. When she exited the gym, Edward was there. He smiled and then continued his questioning. Edward's questions had evolved into more difficult questions, like what she missed most about home, and then asked her to describe smells and tastes. Isn't that a little weird?
I
I guess not, but like, how do you describe what chocolate tastes like? How do you describe what lavender smells like?
oh, you can do it, but you're gonna sound angsty as hell. It's gonna be cringy.
Yeah, yeah. Um So they ended up sitting in front of Charlie's house for hours. It began to rain and they continued to talk. Edward is quiet and Bella asks if he is finished. Edward says no, but her father will be home soon. Bella is brought back into reality and then asks how late it is because the dark sky isn't helping her. Quote, "It's twilight," Edward murmured. Murmured.
Motherfucker, that doesn't answer the time.
His voice thoughtful as if his mind were somewhere far away, end quote. But yeah, not what she asked.
No, if you came up to me, I'm like, hey, what time is it? Twilight. So 5, 6, 7?
What are we talking here?
What season are we talking here? Because Twilight could have a whole different meaning in November in Minnesota than it does in March. Like, let's work with me.
Yeah. So
Pompous.
not helpful, Edward.
Shocker.
He tells Bella that it's the safest time of day for us. It's the easiest time, but also the saddest because it's the end of another day. Darkness is so predictable. What are you talking about? She asked you what time it was, and you just go off on this little tangent about it. It's like the safest time, but also like the saddest because the day is ending, and it's just, what is wrong with you?
That sounds like the little blurb at the top of a MySpace. The old social media.
Oh gosh.
That just all right. We judging.
Quite a bit. Bella says that she likes the night because without it, they would never see the stars. Although, because of the clouds, you hardly ever see them here, anyways.
That would get to me.
That would get to me, too. Edward laughs and the mood is lightened. Bella tells Edward that Charlie will be home in a few minutes. Quote, "So unless you want to tell him that you'll be with me on Saturday, ... He raised one eyebrow. Thanks, but no thanks." End quote. Bella asks if it's her turn tomorrow to ask questions, and Edward says certainly not. He wasn't done. Bella can't imagine what's left to ask, but Edward assures her that she will find out tomorrow. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Edward reaches across her to open her door, and Bella is now having palpitations. Edward's hand froze on the handle, and he muttered, "Not good."
What?
Not good.
Trying to remember.
What's not good coming, Connie?
Oh shit, is this the end of the chapter? Is that
No.
where he leaves off? Okay,
No.
good.
Bella questions him, but Edward says another complication. You're not helping her figure anything out right now. Go away. You're not helpful.
I'm trying to remember what it is, and I might remember.
He opens her door quickly and then moves away from her. Bella sees a flash of headlights in the rain from a dark car that pulled up on the curb just a few feet away. Edward warns Bella that Charlie is around the corner. Bella leaves the car. Edward was still staring ahead with his gaze locked on something or someone she couldn't see. His expression was a mix of frustration and defiance. Edward leaves and is out of sight in seconds. A familiar husky voice comes from the little black car and says, "Hey, Bella, it's Jacob."
Can you call a 15-year-old husky?
No.
Husky voice? Squeaky, I'll take.
They're mostly past that by 15. It's usually like the 13, 14, that's squeaky voice.
True, but not husky.
Not husky, not quite husky. So Charlie's cruiser just turned the corner and his lights are shining on the occupants of the car that was in front of her. Jacob climbed out with a giant grin on his face. Jacob's father, Billy Black, was in the passenger seat. Billy was staring at her, so she smiled at him. Quote, his eyes were wide, as if in shock or fear. His nostrils flared. My smile had faded. Another complication, Edward had said. Billy still stares at me with intense, anxious eyes. I groaned internally. Had Billy recognized Edward so easily? Could he really believe the impossible legends his son had scoffed at? The answer was clear in Billy's eyes. Yes. Yes, he could. End quote. And that is the end of our chapter.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah.
Well, I'm still hung up on the whole 15-year-old husky voice. Honey, no. Unless Jacob's smoking a pack a day. Hopefully not. Okay. Okay, so now...
Kids.
Okay.
Kid hit something, that's all I know.
Yeah.
Sounded like a gong, but okay.
I think that's why I'm like...
Confused? What is happening outside right now?
I don't know. I don't see anything. Well, we'll wrap this up. We might have kids summoning a demon spirit outside.
That's what it sounds like, to be honest.
Oh, good.
Lovely.
This was Native American lands at one point. I don't want to deal with a ghost. So we're about to go punt some kids. On that note, well, things are getting interesting, both here and in the book.
Mm-hmm.
I'm excited for the next parts.
Yeah, the next 2 chapters that we're gonna do are going to be very, very interesting. I have read through chapter 13, but I've only taken notes through chapter 12. 13 is going to be interesting, and we'll figure out how we're going to summarize that one for you. Because it's basically an Edward monologue, so we'll try to figure out the best way to summarize that one. But
whiny.
Yeah, but things are finally starting to pick up. Jacob's back. I didn't expect him to be back yet, but it doesn't surprise me. But he's also very excited to see Bella. Very much puppy dog.
He is. Also, my brain, when you said Jacob's back, my brain went, Jacob's back. All right. Backstreet Boys. I haven't heard that song in like 20 years, so I was guessing on memory, but like...
Yeah.
Again, I don't control the radio station in my head. I'm along for the ride with everyone else.
Backstreet Boys were good. Also, NSYNC.
Yes.
They were really good. But I guess that was like, for people slightly older than us, it was a huge, like, you were either Backstreet Boys or NSYNC. You were not both.
Oh my God, it's the Team Edward, Team Jacob.
It is. And it just blew my mind because I didn't know that. But in my managerial accounting course, I know this is weird. My professor, she would start each of our classes with like just playing music from some sort of era. And one day I walked in and I said it was Backstreet Boys, and she's like, "It's NSYNC. How could you mix them up?" And I'm like, "Oh, sorry." And then everyone in the class was like, "Jess, do you actually not know the difference between them?" And I'm like, "No, I have no idea. I loved both of them." They're like, "You can't love both of them." Like, dead face serious. I was like, "Are you guys messing with me?" They're like, "We would never mess about this."
You might as well just said, I'm part of the Bloods and the Crips. And they'd be like, the fuck you are.
Yeah, so I guess let us know, were you NSYNC or Backstreet Boys, or were you like me and liked both of them cluelessly, I guess?
I didn't know that. Well, we'll find... Did I just hear him whimper?
Nope, it's kids again.
Okay. Okay, we'll go. Children summoning demons outside.
Yeah.
On that note, we'll see you next week. Just a reminder, you can find us on all of our social medias at TikTok, Spotify, YouTube, and Instagram. Handle for all four is at Chaos Chronicles Podcast. Chronicles with an. We'd appreciate a like, subscribe, and follow.
Yes. Well, until next time.
Adios.